Hello, I'm Doug, and welcome to the Krewe of Japan podcast, a weekly podcast where we take you on audio journeys through Japanese culture.
This time on Krewe of Japan podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. So this is actually, we usually have a little monologue at the beginning of our episodes, but if anyone had listened to this podcast way back in the beginning, there's something that we used to do way more often than we do now. Actually, we don't do it at all at this point.
Do it at all.
Oh, hey, Jen.
It was a lost art.
Yeah, we used to do like a little chat heading into the episode, kind of to talk about the topic a little bit and kind of touch on our personal experiences, maybe our own reflections on the topic before we jump into the main meat of the episode, usually the interview or whatever. But, this is the kickoff, the first episode of season 7. So we had to start off with this. We wanted to give you we're not going to do this long intro that I'm doing right now every single time. But for this one, today's episode was actually going to be focusing on Japanese language, which we haven't done. I feel like season 6, we did one at the very beginning.
Didn't we do Langston Hughes?
That's right.
Yeah, it was more towards the beginning. But I will admit, Doug, that it's getting harder and harder to do language episodes because I just find that it's getting harder and harder because, there are different ways to study a language, but you have to find those people who are doing that.
Yeah, and that's the thing with language episodes in general. There's only so many ways you can attack language learning. And for an audio-only podcast, too, we're not teaching Japanese. We're more talking about approaches to study or people's experiences, which kind of segues into today's episode a little bit. This episode is really going to focus on experiences with Japanese, specifically with not reading or writing, but actually conversing in Japanese, talking to people.
Which is, may I say, the hardest part.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would say absolutely. You could study kanji, you could study hiragana, katakana. You can do all this fun stuff with grammar points and Anki and all that fun shit. But you cannot, you can, but you can study all you want. But listening and participating in a conversation actively is a skill that can only be developed with practice, right? You got to be able to use it. You got to struggle through the moment. You got to do all this stuff. Then, it's something that you really have to work on and know and understand that it's going to take time. It's going to take practice.
Yeah, for sure. And I test myself all the time. I really do good on my self-tests. And then when it comes to talking, my brain just shuts off, everything lights off, and nothing comes out. I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah, and it is kind of, I don't want to say a light switch, but it's definitely something it's like working out, right? You got to start light, lifting weights. You got to, jogging. They have that, SoFoot, the 5K, that thing to teach you how to run and get your body conditioned to be able to run a 5K if you're going from doing nothing to running a 5K. So it's very much a thing you got to go through the motions, I swear, I go back to Japan. I'm actually leaving this Thursday to go back to Japan. I came back at the beginning of June. This is peek behind the curtain. This is June 29th that we're recording this. The episode's coming out shortly. Obviously, when you're listening, this will already be out. But, I'm going back. And that's one of the things that even my family, I use Japanese in the home. It's not something I don't practice and use, but it's like riding a bike sometimes when I'm doing it outside of my house, talking to people that I don't normally talk to. I got to wake up the muscles in my brain. And a lot of it, after a while, kind of comes back naturally. And then you don't even really think about it too much. And I think that's another part of it too, right? For you, Jen, when you were going on your trips to Kyoto frequently, did you find yourself kind of rusty in the beginning and then get back on the bike as you were going along?
Oh, yeah, for sure. In the beginning, obviously, it's rusty because I haven't, I go in span of a year. So in the beginning, yeah, very slow, very rusty. And then as the time progresses that I'm there, it gets better and better. And it's so funny. So when I went to the trip in Austria and everyone was expecting me to speak German, which I don't know any German. It was so funny. My brain just completely just had a hardwire shock. And instead of English, which is the second language everyone talks, I went to Japanese for some reason. And I'm just no one knows Japanese here. What are you doing, you crazy person? I don't know what happened.
I've actually I forget what the scenario was, but it was something similar where I didn't know the language and my brain just automatically kind of like
It
defaulted
goes to like that
to.
second language that you know.
Yeah, and I'm not fluent by any means, but it was just one of those things like, okay, I'm not using English, switch over to Japanese. Like it was more like that, right?
Yeah, it was definitely like that. And like everyone like looked at me because I actually did it and I was like, "Oh wait, that's not German. That's not English. That was Japanese. Oops."
Well, I mean, that it kind of gets to where we're talking about today with our episode. You know, it's something that you have to kind of put yourself out of your comfort zone, right? And you got to really experience and live the language to really get better with it. And today's guest, Kyle Metcalf, who is a social media influencer, I would say he's gotten a lot of his notoriety off of his Instagram reels where he's starting off saying, interviewing people in Japan until I'm fluent in Japanese. So you may or may not have heard or seen one of his reels, but they pop up here and there. But then again, on my social media algorithm, I get a lot of Japan stuff, so that's probably why I see it.
Same. Like literally, my friend and I, all we send is like reels of Japanese language stuff to each other.
Yeah, and Jen, you were the one that actually like told me about this episode idea, and then I was like, oh yeah, I know a guy, and you're like, oh, and you said a name already, and then I looked him up, and I was like, oh wait, that's the guy I was thinking of, because like it was just kind of like I'd seen a couple of them and I was like, it's really like nice and cool and a different style of reel that I had seen.
Not really a different approach because this approach has always been existing, but like I feel like Kyle definitely had the courage, which is something that you need, and the confidence, which is also something that you need to actually do the output.
Yeah. So again, we're gonna jump into the episode in a second, but it's really a really cool interview that we had a chance to sit down with Kyle and kind of hear his story. And like, it's funny we talk about like, hey, switching to a different language, because his language originally was English and then another language, which you'll find out in the episode. We're not gonna tell you now, but Japanese wasn't that language after English. It was another one in between. Actually, maybe two. So, it's one of those things where you get to hear his story and get to hear about his approach and like just how he pushes himself and the importance of it and like what kind of things should you be doing when you're trying to get better at Japanese speaking and listening, and what parts of your brain you need to just sometimes shut off and let it just happen. And how do you approach that type of study? Because that's what it is. It's study. Even though it's talking, it's study if you look at it that way. So we've been chit-chatting for a few minutes, so we're going to get into the episode. Let's go. Are you new to the crew? Yokoso. We hope you enjoy this episode. If you like what you hear today, then you'll really love our back catalog of episodes from earlier this season and previous seasons. We've had some incredible guests, like YouTuber Loretta of Keimushi-chan, helping prep for the JLPT. Author of the Remembering the Kanji book series, Dr. Jim Heisig, discussing Japanese language study. Influencer Tyson of Nihongo Hongo, teaching us the Kansai dialect. And so much more. After you finish up this episode, hit that subscribe button or follow or whatever it is, and get notified when new episodes come out. Then while you wait for the new episode to drop, play catch up with the crew. But before you do any of that, let's dive into today's episode.
Today, you may find him on Instagram, going out on the streets, talking to people in spontaneous Japanese. I would like to think of him as a Japanese language enthusiast. Kyle, it's nice to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm Kyle.
Jen, you forgot to introduce me.
Oh, yeah, Doug. There's Doug.
How can you forget me? No.
Because I'm so excited for our guests.
I know, right? Yeah, definitely more important than me.
Oh, no.
So, Kyle, welcome to the podcast. I want to give you an opportunity just for a second to introduce yourself. Just say who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into the icebreaker right after that.
Yeah. So, my name's Kyle. I'm 23 years old. I've been living in Japan for about a year and a half. About 2 months after I came to Japan, I started making these videos where I interview people on the streets to learn Japanese. And since my first video, it kind of went viral, and I've been riding the wave ever since. And just been making content, living in Japan, learning Japanese, and sharing it on social media. It's been great.
Awesome.
Yeah, it has. I mean, that's a big wave you're riding right now.
The right time too. I feel like Japanese Instagram reels over the course of the last, pretty much since the pandemic, but the last 4 or 5 years has been like really skyrocketing, and you caught the wave, I guess, at the right time.
Yeah.
Good on you. But yeah, before we get a little bit further into your Japan journey and everything like that, we are going to ask you an icebreaker, something we ask all of our guests since we're, well, a Japan podcast that's based out of New Orleans. Have you ever been to New Orleans before? And if you have, what's your favorite memory? But if you haven't, what is something you think of when you hear New Orleans?
Yeah, shoot. So I knew you were gonna ask me this, and to be honest, I don't know much about New Orleans. I don't want to be like disrespectful or nothing because I've never been. I feel like the West and the East of America are like so split, at least on my end. Like I don't know much about what's going over there, like farther than Utah. Oh, shoot.
That's all right, man. Like it's music and food is like the big thing.
That's
but
what I heard. Like you guys got a
yeah.
lot of like good food, like seafood is what I heard.
Yeah,
Oh
the
But
yeah.
seafood.
but other than that, seafood and it's like more like traditional vibes.
Yeah, they got like the French Quarter and stuff. You can kind of walk and see some really traditional, old school architecture and buildings, a lot of museums and stuff out here. And
Yeah.
then music is a big vibe, and that they have a lot of old jazz halls that are like still looking like they were, decades ago. It
Dang.
has a very much kind of old timey vibe in some spots.
Well, that's so cool. I need to go check it out.
Definitely.
Well, diving back into the world of Japan, Kyle, what has been your Japan journey? Like, what made you get into learning the language, going to Japan of all places to even pursue the language, it looks like, and just your interest in Japan at all?
So I actually used to live in Korea. I
Oh,
was working as a snowboard instructor, and at the time I was deciding, oh, do I want to stay in Korea? Do I want to go to like a language school in Korea, get really good at Korean, or should I try something new? Should I go back to America? Should I go to college? Or I was just thinking of all this stuff I should do, and I was kind of interested in going to a completely new country. And I was like deciding between China or like Taiwan or Japan just because they're close by. And I already spoke some Chinese, but Japanese I didn't speak nothing of. Didn't know anything about Japan. Didn't speak any Japanese. But all my roommates that were snowboard and ski instructors, they were telling me that Japan is like so awesome. You got to go check it out. And they're like telling me how great of a time they had when they lived there. So I decided to go on like a quick trip from Korea. And then I just came over. I didn't know anything about this place, and I went to Osaka, and yeah, I was like, this place is so interesting. I'd love to try learning Japanese. And yeah, that's kind of how it started for me. Is I went to Japan once, and I went back to Korea, and I looked into going to a language school, and then I decided, okay. It's so random. I even called my parents and tell them, "Hey, I'm moving to Japan." They're super surprised and they didn't like that idea initially, but
well, they're probably like, where did this even come from?
yeah, because they thought I was just coming back to America after my Korea trip. They're like, "Oh, he's going snowboarding again. He's going to Korea, and he's gonna come back, and he's gonna do college or something." But then I called them that night, and I was like, "Hey, I'm actually applying for a visa, and my deadline is in like 3 hours. So I really need like my birth certificate and like some of these
Oh my
documents I don't have with
gosh.
me." And they're like, "What? Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, I'm going to Japan." And they're like, "What?" Yeah. So yeah, it was just a random, spontaneous decision that I made, and I just was interested in learning about Japan and Japanese.
Okay.
So I guess you didn't really give them a choice to be like super supportive. You were like, you kind of just have to be supportive of me.
Yeah. They're like, "What? Well, can you tell me what's going on first?" I'm like, "No, Dad, like, I gotta get this out, like, now. I don't want to miss this deadline, or else I'm gonna have to wait 3 more months or something." He's like, "Oh, what?" I'm like, "Just please, I need the thing." And then, yeah, I set it up. I got it out that night, and everything went perfect. It was crazy.
That's great.
That's awesome.
So have you been snowboarding in Japan? You have to have been snowboarding
Oh
in
my
Japan.
gosh. Yes.
Have you been to Inawashiro in Fukushima?
I've never been. I've never been to Fukushima.
No? Okay. Well, it's like Bandai-san and like Mount Bandai in Fukushima Prefecture. But I used to live on the east coast of Fukushima way back, pre-earthquake and tsunami. But that's where I would go. And I did snowboarding a few times with a buddy of mine. I'm from New Orleans. We'd never get snow. So I can tell you how good I was at snowboarding. Not very good. More time on the ground than I did standing up. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, if you get a chance to go to Inawashiro, it's so good.
Yeah, I've heard Japan has like some of the best snow for like snowboarding and stuff. Like everyone seems to do that during the winter months.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's so good. Japanese snow, it's like some of the best I've ever experienced.
Not really.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I grew up in Utah. The snow is pretty good there, but the best season for snow in Utah is like a normal season for Japan.
Wow.
Oh.
The snow is incredible here.
Nice. So that was my first follow-up question. My other one was, you said you looked into language schools. Was your entry level to it going through an actual proper like Japanese language school? Like what avenue did you take to study?
So after I decided I was going to go to Japan, I went back to America. I started working, saving up money. And about a month before I came to Japan, I was looking up YouTube videos on how to learn Japanese, and I downloaded Duolingo. But up until the point I actually came to Japan, I was still studying hiragana and katakana, and I memorized like a couple phrases, like how to
Mhm.
say my name, my age, and like hello. But yeah, then I just came cold turkeyed it when I came to Japan, and my language school didn't start after 2 weeks of being here. I think it was 2 weeks. It was a little bit like grace period time.
Okay.
I got to try using the Japanese I had learned on the plane ride here and the few Duolingo lessons I did in America. And yeah, I didn't speak much. Actually, I spoke more Korean than I did Japanese when I got here because there's a lot of Korean people at the time. I just kind of gave up on the Japanese and just started speaking only Korean. But yeah, I just jumped right into Japanese through the language school.
So, since it was such a spontaneous decision to go to Japan, like, what was your language school at that point? Like, you were going there to study Japanese. Were you planning like long term? Like, I'm gonna be here long term. I want to get fluent, or you're like, let me just tread the water, see how I feel, and then go from there.
Yeah, I was just I want to test it out, see if I like it. I really wanted to get a part time job here. I was mainly
Okay.
going to the school for the visa, to be honest. I didn't go to the school thinking, oh, I'm going to learn Japanese at the school. I knew I was going to learn outside of class. I was hoping I would get like a good part time job, learn with my colleagues, and then I was going to try to do a snowboard instructor job in the winter because it was
Oh,
like
cool.
summer. That was kind of my idea. And then after the winter, I was planning on going back to America. I did not think I was going to stay longer than 8 months. And here I
And
am.
how long have you been in Japan now? What was it again?
You said a year and a half, right?
Yeah, a year and a half. So I extended my trip and I changed my visa. I came on the student visa and I recently changed my visa to an entertainer visa, which is kind of more
Okay.
rare visa. But yeah, an agency sponsors me and I am able to create content full time
Sweet.
while and
Sweet.
have a visa for it in Japan. Yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't even know they had that kind of visa. That's news to me. I didn't know that was a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I knew.
Same.
Oh, well.
Oh, you do? Oh, it beats both of
Yeah,
us.
I try to keep up with everything Japan related. So, Kyle, how was your like first impression learning Japanese? Because it's probably pretty different from Korean, I can imagine. It's very different from English. So, like, what was your process for learning the language? And were there tools that you used to help you get through learning the language? Or like, did you just like cold turkey start going out talking to people and flipping and flopping everywhere with the language?
Yeah, it's pretty much cold turkey and flopping with the language when I went out. That's exactly how it went. Actually, what I did in Korea, because I never went to a language school for Korean. I never had
Oh,
like a
okay.
curriculum I followed. I just lived there and I would have a translator app and I would save phrases that were important. I would learn vocabulary in phrases. I didn't use flashcards just for vocabulary. I would basically have an idea of what I want to say. I'd look it up with this app called Papago. It's like Google Translate, but in Korea. And I heard
Uh-huh.
that it's better translator for Asian languages, is what I heard at least. So I was using
Okay.
that for Japanese as well. And I would look at phrases and I would just try to memorize it, hear it like a bunch of times in my ear, and I would go try and speak it. And that's kind of how I started first speaking to people.
So you said you also studied Chinese too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it written or spoken only, or was it written too?
Yeah, it was written too. I studied for about 6 years from middle school to high
Oh,
school.
okay.
So I learned the Hanzi, the
I was
characters.
gonna say, like, did that help you a lot with like obviously hiragana and katakana is like uniquely Japan, but like with the kanji and stuff, like a lot of people who, especially Asian language learners who are learning Japanese, kind of have a leg up on Western learners because, especially Chinese, because they have a lot of the characters, and that's where the kanji came from. So, they kind of have an edge on like reading and understanding like written Japanese. So I feel like especially if you had been studying for 6 years, you probably had a good bit of, was it Hansu? Is it what it's called
I
in?
think Hanzi. Yeah, I forgot. I can only think of the Korean and the Japanese. Hanja and kanji. But like honestly, I was a pretty bad student, so I didn't really memorize too many of the characters. But yeah, I did recognize a decent amount of them, especially when I was first learning like the N5 level Japanese. I was like, oh, like it's not as foreign to me as someone that's first learning Japanese. So that's kind of
Yeah.
my cheat code. Is I could speak Korean and I knew a bit of Chinese, and like putting those together, there's a lot of words derived from China, both in Korean and Japanese. So even though the pronunciation is a little bit different, you can understand the meaning of a decent amount of vocabulary.
Awesome.
That's
Definitely
good.
helped me. Yeah. But yeah, for the reading, I was pretty new to it still.
Yeah. Reading's tough. I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
when I started studying, it was like college Japanese courses, and we were very much textbook driven class. It wasn't so much, we did some conversation here and there, but it was very much textbook stuff. So I thought I was good at reading studying 2 years and then before I did my study abroad in Japan. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm good. And then I got off the plane and I was like,
Nope, reality check.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know shit.
Yeah. Definitely for me too.
So but that was like a big barrier for me. Like, I mean, I felt like I could kind of read and write a little bit okay, but when it came to listening and speaking, I was very behind the eight ball. And I don't like making mistakes, so I had a hard time, and at least in the beginning, using Japanese and like speaking it. When you came to Japan and like that 2 week grace period, you say you switched over to Korean because it was way more comfortable. When did you start to feel comfortable with like speaking in Japanese? Like when was it like, okay, the training wheels are off. I'm going to just pedal and see what happens. I may crash, I may fall into a bush, but I may also just keep riding along. You never know.
Actually, I feel like my first 2 months of being in Japan, I was looking for a job and I couldn't get a job. And I was having a hard time with Japanese. And then there's so many Koreans. I mean, there's like a little bit of English speakers, but there's a lot more Koreans. Even people at like stores and stuff. There's so many people working here that spoke Korean. I just kept defaulting to Korean more than English and Japanese. So, like, after 2 months living here, and I was like, kind of gave up on learning Japanese, I had that idea that I wanted to try to make content. And actually, my first video, because it went so well and I had such a great experience meeting the guy, that's kind of what kicked me off. So I learned Japanese a little bit for the 2 months at the school, and I memorized some phrases. I tested them out for 2 months. I didn't really study that much Japanese, but then my first interview, I just tried speaking as much as I could, and it was obviously pretty bad. But that kind of motivated me to learn Japanese since that first interview.
It's like a foundation, right? Like you set that foundation. You're like, okay, you know what? I'm going out there. I'm gonna have this conversation, and then you kind of like build on that, and you build on it, build on it. It's kind of like you can't build a building without that foundational slab, right? So, and you need that, and you had it with that. I feel like a lot of people that learn language, they're afraid to like use it and talk because it is very intimidating, because you're going into a conversation being vulnerable because you're not speaking in your native tongue. There's no guarantee you're going to understand or be able to communicate what you want to say. So that confidence is like, you got to have it, and you just got to be willing to make those mistakes.
Yeah, and I feel like probably your first conversation was a good level checker for you. Like, how far can I go in this conversation? And then from there, you probably, was like, okay, maybe I should study more on this, or maybe I should look up this kind of question.
Did that happen for you though? Like after that first conversation, did you think, okay, this is where I need to improve?
Yeah. What was your thinking process?
Yeah. Before the interview, I remember I was like looking up some phrases that I wanted to try to ask some random person. And I remember looking up how to ask what you do for work. Like, oh, 何の仕事をやっているんですか? I forgot how I phrased it when I first said it, but I remember going up to the guy and I could ask a few questions, but I could not understand anything he was saying. It was a one-sided conversation, but I was just like, oh, yeah. He would think I know what he was saying, but I would just go to my next question like a robot, just asking, but I cannot receive anything he was saying. So after that first interview, I kind of knew my level. I was like, okay, at least I think he understood some of my stuff. And I was going through editing. I was like, okay, so he did answer. He said construction worker. I had no idea what he was saying. But now I know, oh, this is construction worker. Now my next conversation, I got to ask somebody else that has a different background and keep practicing that phrase. That was kind of where it kind of set the bar for me.
Cool.
And what do you think your biggest struggle is when you're conversing in Japanese? And how do you work around it?
And I would say, I want to add another caveat to that. Is like at the beginning, you mentioned like it was just like limited understanding, right, of what they were saying back to you. But maybe like comparatively at the beginning phases and then now, like what are your struggles today versus like what they were like maybe in the first few months?
Right.
Oh, that is a good question. Because I feel like I have the same struggles. It's just less. I feel like it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
For me, learning Japanese is kind of like slowly digging a hole. Like it's getting bigger and like I can see more of it, but I'm still having the same struggle of, oh, once I get into this new topic, it's completely new to me. It's just like hearing these random words that I can understand. So once I like slowly start digging into these new topics and these new vocabulary, that I can start picking up more things. I think the way I work around not being able to understand everything is I try my best to be in like control of the conversation. That's kind of like my workaround. say we're talking about a certain topic, I'll always set up in a way that they have a few options to respond. And then depending on how much I understand, I'll reiterate their answer. If you watch my interviews, or I don't know if I edit them out, every time I talk to a Japanese, I'm always repeating what they say to me. They'll be like, "Oh, I do this, and this." I'm like, "Oh, so you're like this and that." I'll reiterate it in like simpler Japanese or something that I understand, just to make sure that's exactly what they said. And they'll be like, "Oh, no, 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 no," or like, "Oh, yes, that's it, yeah, yeah." And I'm like, "Okay," so I can control the conversation because
Yeah.
I asked a specific thing and then I verify it, even though I didn't understand completely what they said.
That's a really good tip. I started to do some of that too after a while. Like it's probably more so in my jet years, like when I was on jet, because I came back home after study abroad, went back, and then I was like rusty again. But I was in a much more siloed in like a Japanese community, whereas study abroad, I was around a lot of other students, right? So I could lean on English a lot more then. But like, yeah, that whole trying to keep control, like guardrails on the conversation to stay where you understand it, but like also challenge yourself a little bit, but then repeating it because they're letting you know that you got it, or they say no, that's not what I meant. Because I fall into the habit of saying well like, and then just let the
Yeah.
conversation go, and then I get lost. Then I'm like, oh shit, U-turn. What'd you say? Like, come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good call out because I think that'll help show that you're understanding it, but also like you're learning vocabulary and using the vocabulary too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll probably help you memorize things.
I think it's also a mix of kind of what you said, because I also go, "Oh, so, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." Even sometimes when I don't understand, like I don't always do the
Yeah.
verification thing that I do. Sometimes just to keep the vibes good and them enjoying talking with you, sometimes you just gotta like say, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about," even when you're like
Yeah.
have a slight idea. Like I'll try to figure it out in the next question or the next conversation. Sometimes you just gotta keep pushing it forward, because if you stop every time you don't understand anything,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it kind of hard for them to have a conversation with you, I feel like.
So true. And I think another thing too is that in the beginning, you do a lot of like transforming sentences in your mind. You like say, hey, this is what I want to say. I say it in Japanese, and then I got to listen, translate it back into English, think of an answer in English, then translate it back into, in your own mind. And it's a lot faster than that. But like doing that, it slows down the conversation, like you were saying. And people don't want to do that. Like they're just trying to talk to you. They get tired or bored or want to move on because you're like not following at the speed that they want to go at.
Yeah.
So at some point, you just gotta. Some situations go with the flow and just nod, soda snake, blah blah blah. Like keep the conversation flowing, and then you'll hop back on at some point, or the topic will change. But yeah,
I don't know. I've heard people like skipping the English part in your brain. I don't know how that works. I'm not there yet, but I've heard like people like process the Japanese that's spoken to them and it just skips the English part
oh
and
yeah. Well, it
it
gets
just
there
comes
eventually. It
out.
gets there, but in the
Yeah.
beginning, I feel like that's what I was adding, that English step on both sides of the equation, just to kind of like help myself. But it kind of didn't help all the time.
I was gonna say, like, for jokes as well, even just like fake laughing, even when you don't understand, helps move the conversation, helps them feel like you're understanding. Even if it's like, "Oh yeah, I have an idea what they're talking about," but like I'll still laugh, even though I don't completely understand the humor. It's so hard because like sometimes they catch you on it, like, "Oh, today what got the night, yo?" I'm like, oh, hey, how do they catch me when I don't know? Joke. I'm just trying to join in because everybody else is laughing. So like, oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But like with the English too, I think it's really important to, as you're learning a foreign language, to try and eliminate that step of translating in English, because I feel like it's brain lag a little bit when you're
It
having a
is.
conversation. You have to like sit there and think about, oh, what does that mean in English before you understand it. So opposed to learning like a ton of vocab in one day, like say you're like, oh, I'm gonna learn 20 vocab in this day. If you learn like way less and you actually know how to use them and you know what it feels like to use them, I feel like that's way more beneficial than knowing the translation to 20 than like actually knowing how to use and what it feels like for each one of those. Because then you don't have to translate it. You can use them and not
Right.
have that. That's at least for me. And then you end up learning words in that language and you get them explained to you and what circumstances to use that vocabulary. And you never actually learn the English, but you know how to use it. You know what it means.
Right.
You know what it feels like to say it. Because sometimes the English is like a completely different feeling. Like there's so many words that I learned that I'm like, oh, I actually have to look up the English and like, oh, what? I feel like it's a little bit different because if you use it directly as the translation says, you don't always use it in this situation
Right.
like you do in English. You got to use
Right.
it only in the way Japanese do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's true. It's true. So let's go back to your progression, since it's again a year and a half. You said you have some of the same struggles that you had in the beginning. You still have now, but overall, like, how do you feel your progression is going? I mean, you can't really, it's hard when, especially when you're doing like conversation, you can't really measure it like by metrics or like, I'm memorizing 500 flashcards today. Like Anki is like going great. Whereas like conversation is just like, you just either feel it or you don't feel it when it's happening. Like some days you have great conversations, and then other days your brain is like, you know, you might be hungover or something and you're having brain fog. You're like, I just am not in the mood today. So how do you feel overall though? Like your language learning has been progressing over the last year and a half.
I would say I'm not as good as I hoped I would be. Like, to be honest, I haven't been studying Japanese super hard, but there's some times where I surprise myself on how much Japanese I know. Sometimes I'm making calls, or like people are calling me for just like stuff about living in Japan, like my rent or something didn't go through right, or all these problems, and I'm able to like figure them out and fix them in Japanese. And then after the call, I'm like, oh wow, okay, I can actually speak some Japanese. Like, I'm not too
Yeah.
bad. But then I don't know, most of the time, like I came to Japan, I've been making content and I've been exploring a lot. I have a lot of friends that speak English, and I try to hang out with Japanese friends and speak Japanese with them. But a lot of the time I speak English as well. So I'm like, at the same time, I feel like I could be learning Japanese way faster. But on the other hand, I'm like, okay, I am better than I am when I first started, because I look at my first videos, I'm like, okay, wow. Like, I know how much I understood in that interview, and it was nothing. But now it seems like such a slow, easy conversation.
It's gotta be trippy, like looking back at the old videos, huh?
Yeah, it's so trippy, especially the long versions. Because like I edit them to like just 1 minute, but if I see
Yeah.
the long version, I'm like, wow, like that is so cringe. Like I feel so bad for the Japanese guy having to sit there with me for like 15 minutes having this conversation.
So you feel like you've improved.
Definitely. So I do feel like I've improved.
But how do you feel other people online are reacting so far to like your content?
They think I'm fluent. Well, it's so hard. Everyone's like, oh, Kyle, you're fluent. You should stop the series already. No, I'm like,
Imposter syndrome.
yeah, that's how I kind of feel like. I'm like, everyone thinks I'm fluent online, but in person, I know how much I lack. And if I talk to all my Japanese friends, they know my actual level. So I don't know how to actually show my actual level, because I know for
Yeah.
sure I'm not fluent. I need to show more of my struggle.
Either that or like I have family members that know nothing about Japan, don't know Japanese, and like I could use like the most simple of phrases and they think, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You know Japanese, you're fluent." And it's like, "No. Stop. Wait. You're getting way ahead of yourself." So like, I'm sure some people that follow your content haven't studied Japanese, don't know Japanese. So to them, that probably is like their definition of fluent, because they're like, "Oh, you're not even like speaking English in this conversation."
I guess, yeah, from an English speaking perspective, I'm not that slow anymore, and I can talk about some like harder topics and really understand the vibe a lot better. So in their eyes, they're like, oh, he's fluent. I don't know why he's keep doing this. Like, what is he going to be done? But I feel like all my Japanese viewers, they can see it like right away. Oh, wow.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
making this mistake. Oh, he does this again. Oh, something about this is not completely there yet, but he's improving. I am planning on ending the series. I'm not planning on just dragging it on forever. I want to end it in a way that I feel accomplished and just make it as interesting as possible, this language journey that I've been sharing, and have a specific goal that I'm trying to reach, and have it transparent so everybody knows kind of my level and where I'm at and how I'm going to complete that fluency. Because also fluency for everybody is different.
I was about to
Yeah,
say,
that's
like,
true.
fluency is such a like a fluid
It
marker,
is.
right? Like fluency for one person could be, like Jen said, like, oh, you went to a Japanese restaurant and you asked for like one beer, please. And that's like, wow, you communicated. That's great. Yeah, good job. But then, you know, like someone else may be like, I need to pass N1. I need to be able to like go and do all these, like, I need to be able to read a novel or five, you know, before I feel fluent. You know, it's just everyone has a different measure of what fluent is.
Yeah.
Well, I know for like Japanese jobs, they use the word native Japanese. And I think that's a little different from fluency, like fluent, the word fluent. Because native Japanese makes me think conversational Japanese. Like,
I think they probably just mean someone that's not gonna like get in there and be like, like lock up on day one.
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, because I also see that like some like they always rank people like fluent and then native is above fluent.
Yeah.
In my mind, I can never reach native, because like I'm always gonna have somewhat of an accent. I'm never gonna understand, as much kanji as a native person's gonna understand. So I always kind of think, oh, as a foreigner, since Japan's not my first language, I'm never gonna achieve native level. Just there's always gonna be something. No matter how hard I try, it's gonna be just a little bit something about my accent eventually that they can tell.
Yeah.
Like I can maybe fool it like maybe some conversations that they can't tell if I'm Japanese or not. But I feel like overall, I'll never be able to be native level. So fluency, yeah, I think is achievable for all of us.
Yeah.
It's like the little bit downer version of that, a little lower.
So you were talking about your content a second ago and having an end at some point, but I want to do a little behind the scenes, maybe just to kind of peek behind the curtain a little bit. So how do you go about selecting who you're going to talk to? Like, do you kind of scope them out, or you just like go up to them and just try to talk to them? Like, how does that go? Whatever you can reveal, and the magic of yeah, editing and stuff. You don't have to say all of it, but like whatever you feel comfortable revealing.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of the time, most of my interviews, I just kind of walk around and I stereotype people on who I want to talk to or who looks like they would say yes to me because you can kind of tell their emotion when they're walking. Like they look
Mm.
busy. Okay, they're definitely gonna say no. Oh, this guy looks like he's in a bad mood. There's chances of him saying yes to me probably pretty low. Oh, this guy's like smiling a little bit, or this guy he's like walking a little bit slower. Okay, maybe I can stop him. He's not too busy. So like those kind of people I shoot for, or somebody that I kind of like just look at and they seem interesting to talk to. But then all the time, the people that I'm like kind of scared of, or they look like they're gonna say no or something, you never know because I've talked to those people as well, and they switch right when you ask them. Like they light up, and then they end up like being one of the nicest people I talked to. I'm like, what the heck? I thought you were like a little bit more scary. You're gonna speak hard Japanese. Maybe you didn't like foreigners, or you're in like a bad mood or something. I don't know. I get surprised by the people I talk to sometimes, and they end up being like one of the nicest people. Like somebody I would never have talked to, even speaking English. I just do the spontaneous interaction, and then they end up being like some of my favorite people I interview.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you kind of do like a vibe check.
Yeah, vibe check. Yeah, it's all random though.
Can you kind of tell, like, look within the first few seconds, like if it's going to be a hit or a miss?
Yeah, I always start recording. So all my footage of me approaching them, it's all that's the real first interaction, and that usually goes on for about like a minute and a half, just me trying to break the ice and like explain what I'm doing. But I usually edit that, so it's like either like 5 to 10 seconds. It's like pretty
Hmm.
short on the actual video. Like usually on that 1 minute to minute and a half when I'm trying to break the ice and say, hey, I'm a language learner. I do like content online and I'd love to like shoot a video with you if you're not too busy. You can tell immediately by their reaction if they want to keep going or not. And sometimes like I'm like, oh wait, okay, maybe I'm not gonna ask them for the video. I'll just like, oh, to say I'm a language learner and I just want to practice Japanese real quick. Cause I don't know, especially when I say like, oh, I'm making a video and they look at my phone. Cause this is how I record my videos usually. I put it in 0.5, but I'm just kind of holding it like with my chest. Usually
Yeah.
if they're standing, you can't see their face. But depending on the person, if they see the camera, I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to be recorded. Then I was like, oh yeah, nope, no problem. And I'll just like play it off. And
Do you get more hits or misses when you approach them and ask for an interview?
I feel like I've gotten pretty good at, stereotyping people and who would say yes and not. So I feel like lately it's like almost all hits. I can like see from my way, I'm like, oh, he's great to interview. I'd love to talk to him. I go up to him, it says yes, almost every time. But when I first started out, there was a lot of people. Like some days I would go out and like I would talk to 9 people, and only one of them would say yes. And I was like, dang, like that was a lot harder than I was expecting. Like I thought everyone was just like kind of chill with it, but yeah, you never know though.
Do you do this like every day? Or do you like, you pick a day and you're like, all right, today is Thursday. I'm going to go and try to talk to people. Or is it just like every day? You just kind of like, hey, maybe I'll do one or two today and see what happens, depending on where you are.
I try to do like one every few days, but
Okay.
usually when I go out and say, "Oh, I'm gonna go talk to someone, I'm gonna go make an interview," it doesn't go very well. I feel like
Yeah.
the best interviews and the best interactions I have is when I'm just out living in Japan and then I just randomly see someone interesting and then I'm like, "Oh, well, I want to make a video with them right now." Those are
Yeah.
like
Okay.
the best interactions because I don't know why. It's like looking for a girlfriend. Every time you want a girlfriend, you can never get one. But then when you don't want a girlfriend, you're like, oh, there's all these, like, oh, I'll date her probably. I don't know. It's like the
That's
same thing
great.
for me. Every
Spontaneous.
time I'm
I
like
love it.
not looking for it, it's so weird.
That's great. I love it.
So something that was really emphasized to me, I've had like a variety of like teachers from college, from study abroad to like when I was at school here in New Orleans. Every single teacher has emphasized that prolonged silence or like quietness in conversation is very common among like Japanese speakers, especially native Japanese speakers. And it's not like an awkward thing, which is, again, for us as non-native Japanese speakers or like Westerners in general, I feel like awkwardness is perceived as like, oh God, I got to fill the gap of the conversation with a joke or something like, oh, something that went wrong, when it's not always the case. So do you experience that like when you're going through some of these conversations with people, or is it pretty smooth flowing and steady? But then if you do experience it, how do you navigate that silence? I mean, obviously in the videos, you can kind of chop it out, right? So like you don't really see it in the video. But like, how do you feel like navigating silence within a Japanese conversation?
I feel like I've just been learning this recently, to be honest.
Okay.
A lot of the people I've been interviewing for the past year, up until like a few months ago, it's like usually like not too bad. I'm like really engaging in the conversation, so there's not a lot of silence. Because I'm kind of scared of it. I feel like they're losing interest or something's going wrong. So like I
Right.
try to fill the silence just naturally, but then going and hanging out with Japanese like for hours and only speaking Japanese, yeah, there's a lot of silence. And to be honest, I don't know how to react. Like it's like there, and I'm like somewhat worried if they think I'm awkward or if they're realizing that I didn't understand what they just said or what's going on.
You start overanalyzing, right?
Yeah, I definitely start overanalyzing.
Yeah.
That's just like recently, like something I've been figuring out. It's like, yeah, there's. Do you think it's worse than English though? I bet you're a lot better than Japanese than I am, probably.
I don't know. I mean, I've had friends where we go and sit, and then it just sometimes you sit there, and then if it's quiet for more than like 10 or 15 seconds, I just get this like mental urge that like I have to like comment on something. I'm like, oh, look at that picture over there, or like, I don't know, the weather's great today. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like I don't know. I just the awkward silence to me is awkward. So I start to mentally that's kind of my personality too, as I overanalyze stuff to a fault. So I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting.
I don't
Maybe-
know, because I feel like, yeah, there is that silence in Japanese conversation, now that I think about it. Because I'm thinking about, like, conversations I've had with my host mom, and, yeah, we were silent for, like, a good amount of time in our conversations. I never felt the need to, like, add anything. I don't know, that's so weird. Yeah, no, I never actually.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it though, I think one of my go-tos, if I'm like with like a Japanese friend and just like kind of sitting there with them, I was like, like just kind of
Are you
like
eating something delicious?
no, not like
Like
yummy, but like kind of like
I hate that.
and then but, like some of the guys that I used to work with at schools and stuff, when we would go out and have a couple drinks, that would be how they would kind of do it. Like they would just sit there if they had nothing to talk about. They would just kind of like, yeah, like kind of like,
Mm.
they wouldn't say yeah. They would say like,
Really?
yeah,
That's
that
so
was
funny.
weird. And maybe I don't know again if that was just the people that I was talking to or not, but like, so I just kind of like nod, look around, and then I'm like, okay, leg starts fidgeting a little bit. I'm like, all right, I gotta think of something to say. So I don't know. It's kind of something that I noticed over the years, and I still struggle with it to this day when it happens in conversation. I'm like, oh God, it's happening. I need to say something, but I don't know what to say. Or maybe I said something wrong. I don't know. So I'm glad I'm not like you're experiencing that too though. So it's not just me. It's not me just like overanalyzing situations. You kind of have felt it. The silence.
Yeah, the silence. Definitely. Yeah, I gotta have more long conversations to really experience and know what to do though.
And see, that's my next question. So, like, when you approach people and start these conversations, do you have like a duration goal when you like approach someone? Or do you just once again feel the vibes and be like, can I go longer with this person? Okay, let's do it right then and there. Or like, do you have a set this many phrases into the conversation and end it? How is that process for you?
So all of my interviews, I have an idea of how it's gonna go before I approach a person. I have like a few
Mm-hmm.
things I'm like, oh, I should ask this and this and this. And it almost never goes to plan. I don't know if it went to plan even once, to be honest. Because I sit down like with people at the park, and if they're chill and they're enjoying talking with me, then I've been like sitting on the bench for like hours with them. I remember one of my videos, I was cutting it up, and then people in the comments like, "How long were you on the bench together?" Because it was like you started in the daytime or at dusk, and then it's like super dark, and you're walking back together. I'm like, yeah, we just kept talking, and it was fun talking with her. I didn't record all of it. Like maybe I would take a 30-minute video, and I'm like, okay, my hand's tired, and then maybe I'll pull it back up when I feel like there's something interesting I want to ask her or something. But yeah, usually it's around like 15 to 30 minutes. But just depending on how, if they have time, if they're enjoying the conversation with me, I just try to get out as much Japanese practice as I can and ask the most interesting things I can. Yeah, I just got to read the room the best I can when I'm meeting
Yeah.
people.
So any of the people that you do this with, like the conversations you have, do any of these turn into like actual like friends you've like maintained friendships with over the months and I guess years now since it's been more than a year? Like when you started talking to some people, like you kept in touch and like maybe met up with them again outside of that kind of context.
Yes, definitely. So many of them. Because every person I meet, obviously, I'm like being genuine. I'm not just there to speak the Japanese. I'm actually there to understand them and try to connect with them.
Yeah.
And then usually I break the ice so good that we stay in contact and it works out like so good. Like one of my favorite interviews, I went to Hokkaido and I was just testing out my camera because I was about to use it for an interview. But I was on a lift and I was like, oh, I'm just going to make sure the audio is working. And I saw a guy sitting on the other side of the lift than me. I didn't even think to make an interview with them. I was like, oh, I'm going to test my camera. And I started talking to him like how I would film the interview, but I've never used that camera. And then we talked and it went great. And then the rest of my trip, I was hanging out with him actually.
Oh wow.
He's still telling me, oh, we should like come back to Hokkaido. We should hang out. I feel like there's a lot of people like that I actually become friends with. And it's not just for the video. Like we meet. Because also when I meet them, and I'm not filming, I don't want them to think that our relationship is just for content.
Yeah.
They'll invite me to like certain events and I'll go there and I won't shoot any content. So I don't know if it's like, oh, I wanted you to take a video or if like, oh, why didn't you take a video? Like you could have, like, I don't mind. But I don't want them to think that like, oh, I'm just here to like film you for content. I'm here to actually support you or whatever.
That's cool. That's cool.
So I didn't know you did that much traveling. I didn't know you went to Hokkaido. I knew about Osaka. And like I said, you went snowboarding recently. But I know Japan has dialects depending on where you go. Has that been like a bumpy road for you in your learning of the Japanese language? Because I imagine conversations in other places in Japan that's outside of Tokyo, which is the standard Japanese, it seems like. Are you able to like conversate okay in other parts of Japan, even though there could be like a dialect situation going on?
Honestly, that's been pretty hard for me, especially lately, because I just recently been spending most of my time in Tokyo rather than Osaka.
Yeah.
I initially came to Osaka and I was living there for about a year and I was learning a lot of Osaka dialect and I was learning standard Japanese at school. But then outside, I would learn a lot of Osaka dialect and I would hear a lot of Osaka slang. And then just recently, now that I'm kind of Tokyo, I feel like I kind of speak whatever the other person is speaking. Like if they're speaking more standard Japanese, then I'll start speaking in that way. But now when I'm going back and forth between Osaka and Tokyo, it's like mixing me up, and I'm having a hard time understanding what is what. Like I just recently learned that like the ya means da. Like that's how you say it in the standard. You know, like I knew both of them, but I didn't know that was the directly translated. I thought like oh yeah, it was like more like fun, like you gotta use it in this situation. But they mean the exact same thing. Just that's people in Kansai or Osaka, they say it more energetic. Yeah. So stuff like that. So yeah, but going back and forth, it's been kind of weird learning both dialects at once. But traveling around Japan, I guess I haven't traveled so much that I really see the other dialects. I've mainly stayed in like standard speaking Japanese areas.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So when obviously we've kind of mentioned this throughout the episode, like conversing in Japanese, it can be intimidating, especially for language learners at the very beginning stages of their language learning journey. But like for you, like what would be some advice that you would give someone that maybe has been studying on Duolingo or doing, textbook or, self-study where they're studying Japanese, they're learning all these flashcards and sentences and grammar points and all this stuff, but maybe they haven't really taken the step into speaking and like conversations with people, maybe for lack of conversation partners or just whatever. What would your advice be to those that are maybe looking to try to get into speaking and using the verbal Japanese more than the written and the reading?
That was a good question because I meet a lot of these people and I try my best to like encourage them to speak and make mistakes. Because for me, when you make mistakes is when I learn the most Japanese. A 10-minute conversation on the park and making like a ton of mistakes is way more beneficial than like an hour or 2 hours of me studying alone. You got to have a balance of both. But my advice for them, just don't be embarrassed. It's hard. It's easy to say that. It's hard to do. But you just have to understand that they know you're not fluent and it's not embarrassing if you mess up your Japanese and nobody actually cares. There's so many language learners that like, they think it's embarrassing when they make a mistake in Japanese. But actually, it's not embarrassing. It's normal. It's completely normal. Even people that are my friends and they've been learning Japanese longer than me, they have this idea that, oh, I'm supposed to speak like this level or like, oh, I'm not supposed to make this mistake anymore because I've been learning it for so long. No, nobody cares. those mistakes should be rewarding for you, because every time I make a mistake and I embarrass myself, I'm like hyper focused in that moment, and I remember it so much more when I get corrected. That embarrassment makes it so I don't want to be embarrassed
It's a
again,
great
and then I
teacher,
try my
right?
hardest. Yeah, it's like the best teacher.
Yeah.
I feel like when I was learning Chinese, I struggled with that the most, because even though out of Korean, Japanese, and Chinese, I studied Chinese the longest, but I speak it the least, because the whole time when I was in class, I was so nervous and embarrassed to make mistakes, especially in front of my classmates, because I didn't want them to know that I didn't do the homework or whatever. I don't want the teacher
Right.
to know my level. I want him to think I'm prepared for the test or whatever. It was so embarrassing for me to make mistakes with people learning at the same pace as me. But I noticed that everyone in the class that would speak and they didn't care if they made mistakes in front of the whole class, they were the best speakers by far.
Hmm.
I took that same mentality when I came to Japan. Even when I was in language school, I spoke the most out of all my classmates. Even though I wouldn't do the homework just because I thought I didn't need to. I thought I just like like whatever, all the stuff. I wasn't really interested in studying the kanji or whatever, everything in class, but I didn't care to make mistakes in front of everybody. So I just spoke as much as I could. And my class was actually like trying to hold me back from the next level. They're like, oh, you can't go to N4 because you're not doing good on your tests. I'm like, oh, it's because I don't know the kanji. But every single teacher I talk to, they say I'm the best speaker in the class. It's like on paper, I was the worst student. But with speaking wise, I was probably the top of the class. And I think it's because
Nice.
I just told myself, hey, nobody cares about making those mistakes. That's the way to learn. And every time you make one of those mistakes, it's like you should be proud of making that mistake, because you're going to learn so much in that moment. So that's my advice.
Yeah, that's great
That is good
advice. Because
advice.
definitely the mental block is it happens to me. I still get embarrassed, even though like, and I'm like, oh, do I want to say that? Or like when I'm talking with like friends or my wife's family and stuff, it's like, oh, do I want to say this and possibly say something embarrassing, and then it's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life. You know? For saying something completely awkward in a like I think one time I called on the phone to a department store. It was like around New Year's, and I know they closed early. So I called in the car and I'm like with my wife and her sister. And then someone answered the phone, and I don't know what I was thinking, but it said Nanji Made. Like just like what was I thinking? I mean, I know what I was thinking. I was like, "What time are you open until?" And I just said "Kyo wa nanji made," and then they just laughed at me in the background while on the phone. So I'm getting embarrassed because I'm like, people in the background are laughing, and then like that frazzled me in the moment, and then I just locked up even more, and I was just like, I just hung up. I didn't even wait for the answer. I just hung up. So they probably just thought it was like a prank call or something. But I was like, I'm done. You guys call. I'm out. But yeah, no, it just you gotta take risks. That's all it is. Just have fun. It happens. Mistakes happen, and you laugh at it, and you remember. Say, I remember that story. I know. Don't
Yeah.
call someone and say "kill wa nanjimade." I mean, it translates fine. I mean, it's absolutely. They knew what I was trying to ask, but I inserted that awkward
Okay.
silence there on purpose. I was gonna say something. I'm like, no. I'm gonna let it be silent for a second.
That's just you, Doug. That is just you.
No,
Well,
yeah, go for it, Jen.
I think this was a good stopper right there. I think our listeners got a lot of good advice and information from this. I hope our listeners, really take your advice to heart and just start speaking
Yes.
and using the language aspects that they do know, and just continue learning through the conversation like you've been doing. And so to end this interview, I kind of just want to give you the opportunity to let our listeners know where they can find you, what you have going on, if you can, if you have any like projects coming up, the floor is yours, Kyle.
Sweet. Well, you can find me at my Instagram. My main content platform is Instagram Reels. It's IM underscore KYLE underscore METCALF. I'm Kyle Metcalf. That's my name. I couldn't think of a better title, but just recently I had a TED talk, and that was
Oh,
like an insane experience for me, and that will be posted on TED's official YouTube channel here in a couple days. So if you'd like to know,
nice.
I mean, it was kind of similar to what we spoke about today, just kind of like I experienced becoming a content creator and doing these interviews. I'll have a talk about that. So if anyone's interested in kind of what I do or what I'm doing and wants to see some of that videos, I feel like it'll be a good introduction to what I'm doing.
Awesome.
Hopefully by the time this is out, you'll be able to search Kyle Metcalf TED Talk, and then it would pop up. So
Yes, for sure. It should happen. Oh, but yeah, that's exciting. I didn't know you had that going on. That's awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
Congratulations.
That was crazy. I was so nervous going up and speaking in front of like hundreds of people and talking about my experience, but I haven't seen the footage yet, so hopefully I don't look embarrassed or. But I had the same mentality learning Japanese. You know, I was like, okay, I can like mess it up. Like, you just gotta get in there, and even if it's the deep end, just try swimming, and I'm gonna learn the best. So next time I have a public speaking, I feel like this method of just like throwing yourself in, no matter how you feel, you're gonna learn and improve the most.
Yeah.
At least it was in your native language, English, right?
Thank goodness. Oh my gosh, if I did that in Japanese, oh my, I could never. I'll be as red as a tomato every time.
I mean, how Kyle? Honestly speaking, how would you feel if you went into like a Japanese speech contest? Do you think you could like pull something like that off on the spot?
I would love to. Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
Try
What's there to lose? I learned more. Now, to be honest, I feel like I could. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think I have a way to go. To be honest, that's. I can prepare for something like that, but I can do it on the spot probably.
That'd be cool to see. There you go. Idea for you in the future.
I'm down.
Awesome. And did you get your driver's license stuff sorted out? I saw a couple of videos like recently, right? It was like last week or 2 weeks ago. I know you were looking at like a camper.
Yes. So I'm so close to getting that. It's been a lot harder than I was expecting to do that in Japan. So far, my journey in Japan has been interviewing people mainly in Osaka and Tokyo, and I hope to expand that and kind of travel around Japan. I have this cool idea that I want to buy this camper truck, and I want to take my motorcycle around and just go on cool road trips, exploring the countryside, and really learning, not just interviewing people, but try to like make more long form content on YouTube and really exploring these lesser known places in Japan and understanding the local culture and other dialects than standard Japanese and concept. And I don't know, we'll see where it goes, but if that sounds interesting, you can check it out on my YouTube.
Yeah, that's exciting.
That sounds great, man. Well, good luck with all those. Lots of ideas. And honestly, I mean, there's never too much Japan content out there. I feel like I like the long form stuff too. Whenever I have time to watch YouTube, I don't have much time lately. Work and kids, you don't have time. The only time what's on YouTube is like number blocks and like Roblox videos and stuff like that. So I don't really get to watch YouTube for myself unless I'm like kind of holed away in my office. So, but yeah, no, I would love to see that kind of stuff. So whenever you do, keep us in the loop.
Yeah, I'm super excited to make it too. Hopefully it goes the way I'm envisioning it, because usually that never happens. But we'll see. So yeah, that's my plan. Get the truck, and even if I do post most of it on YouTube, I'm gonna be posting a lot on my main profile, like TikTok and Instagram, so you can see the short clips or the highlights from it. So
cool.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the best way to do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Kyle. I really appreciate it. Like I said, Doug and I always love doing language-based episodes. So you coming on and helping us talk about conversating in Japanese is really, really great. And like I said before this interview, it's good timing for Japan Society of New Orleans since we have our conversation club. So I feel like I can share this with that group and be like, look, you could do it too.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks again, man. We appreciate you coming on. And awkward silence right there just for the last one.
Oh my gosh. Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're so cringe.
I'm just worried that I'm going to be talking over somebody. So I'm like trying to wait until it's like completely done. But
no, I was totally doing that. Just the lead out. I was like,
Doug, why?
I really appreciate you guys having me, though.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Anyone else listening, I hope that any of my content or this podcast could inspire you to learn languages. I know it's so rewarding connecting with strangers and actually using your Japanese. It's worth every second of the study. So
100%.
Thank you so much for having me and sharing this message about learning Japanese, because I love Japan so much. And if we can inspire other people to have similar experiences, yeah, it means the world to me. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. And that's a wrap on our Season 7 premiere episode. Thank you so much for tuning into the Krewe of Japan podcast. And of course, a huge thank you to Kyle Metcalf for joining us to talk about his unique approach to his Japanese language journey. Through his content creation, Kyle has shown us that putting yourself out there and making an effort are absolutely a requirement if your goal is to get better at Japanese, or any foreign language for that matter. Follow along with Kyle's progress on his socials, and check out his TED Talk too while you're at it. We'll have both linked out in show notes. Are you new to the crew in Season 7? Stick around and don't be a stranger. Give us a follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. There's plenty in our back catalog to take you on endless audio journeys through Japanese culture. While you're there, do us a solid and leave us a 5-star rating and/or review. Why not both? Every single one of those ratings and reviews helps other listeners discover Krewe Japan and join our global crew. Or hey, maybe just let a friend know about us. Any and all support is incredibly appreciated. Now, what's the hardest part about language study for you? Share with us on Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, any of them. Just search for Krewe Japan Podcast to stay in the loop with future episodes, upcoming Japan Society events, and other Japan-related content. That's KREWEOFJAPAN. Or if you want to reach out to us directly, shoot us an email, krewofjapanpodcast@gmail.com. We always love hearing from our listeners. But that's it for today. Welcome back for Season 7. Until next time. Looking to start your own podcast and don't know what platform to use? Tell me about it. When we started the Krewe Japan podcast, we tried a bunch of the big name recording platforms, but always came back to the one we're still currently using to this day, Zencastr. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. In addition to its high audio and video quality for podcast production, Zencastr provides a full suite of production tools to record, produce, and publish studio quality content from the comfort of your home. Just log in through your browser and start recording. It's that simple. For us, we simply send out links to our guests and they join the lobby. But before you know it, it's all done and you have your studio quality audio and up to 4K video right there ready for you right when you finish. The best part is having their multi-layered backups to ensure that your recordings are in the highest quality, regardless of anyone's internet connection stability. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcasts in one place and distribute to all the major destinations. It's really that easy. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code Krewe of Japan, KREWEOFJAPAN, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's your time to share your story.